So this video isn't as loud, this video isn't as extravagant. However, what this video is some trans affirmations. And maybe that's something someone watching might need today. I don't have as much energy as I normally do to make the kind of video I normally do. But I figured in moments where I feel a bit down, I find what helps me is making videos that help other people. So that's what we're gonna do. Nice and simple, back to basics, kind of like my old stuff. So this is a little video that you can just watch or pop in the background whenever you need it. Whenever you need a slight pick-me-up. This will be a short little affirmation adventure, so to speak. So, I'll give it my best. I've been a bit stressed lately, but perhaps you have too. And it's okay to feel that way. I mean, the world lately is a bit crazy, to say the least, right? However, being a trans person within the current world we're in is, while scary, also empowering, right? Like in any year in human history we could have been in, we're in this one. And there's a lot of things that trans people get access to that we didn't have centuries ago, you know? And I know there's still difficulties in that. People saying really mean stuff, people being a bully, or just saying stuff for the sake of being loud on the internet. But that's all it is. It's just noise, right? People that yell that kind of stuff don't actually have much stake in it, and they don't really care. They just want to yell at people, because that's what gives them a feeling of power, or a feeling of just dopamine. However, when you're out there in the big world as a trans person, well, you're doing the hardest thing that you could do, being yourself, right? And there's different ways in which we do that, but despite that, we make it for every day so far. I mean, I know people say mean stuff, but no matter what they say, your agenda's still valid. And I'm really happy you're here. And at the end of the day, transition is, well, a transitional process, right? It's okay if you're at the start of the tunnel, so to speak. It's okay if you're not meeting stereotypical beauty standards that a trans person's supposed to look like. You don't have to be a fancy trans model or whatever, right? Trans women watching don't have to look like Finster or whatever to be allowed to be trans. You don't have to look like a supermodel, okay? We don't even hold cis people to that standard rationally, but society still tries to. It's kind of a human thing. We like to compare. And we'll transition, right? How much of a model we look like, or how much we fit into boxes determined by cishet society, doesn't actually make us more or less trans, okay? And whichever part of the rev you fit in to that equation, you're still valid. You don't have to look a certain way. You don't have to sound a certain way either. I know when I started transition, my voice did not sound like this. Well, it's more like this, right? And people often were saying stuff like, oh, you won't be able to change the voice. Well, you can change your voice. And you can change a lot about your life, actually, for little steps. I mean, nothing happens immediately. The kind of people that claim that are probably trying to sell you a book. And the truth is, transition's slow. And it's okay if throughout your day it can feel grueling. If every step feels painful, that's fine. Nothing's easy. You gotta look in yourself and see, like, what you want, so to speak, you know? Like, what you want to get out of it, right? Not what someone else tells you you'll get out of it. Not what I or anyone else say will happen if you transition. You gotta look into it and look at it very literally and see if doing that will make you happier. And if presenting as a different gender fills you with joy, it doesn't matter what other people say to that at all, regardless of how you look, sound, or just other things about you. You don't need to fit in certain boxes or look a certain way, sound a certain way to have permission, so to speak, to live as a different gender. Because when you think about it, the people that make these arbitrary requirements are usually the people that were trying to stop you from doing it in the first place. There's all these barriers and hurdles that we all have to climb over just to be ourselves. And it's built that way on purpose. The reason it's hard to see, like, medical stuff, or why it's so hard to get, like, surgery stuff, or even just why it's so tricky to decide to wear different clothing, is because we've designed barriers in society to make it harder. Because there's people that don't want us to do it, simply put. But that doesn't mean you can't. It won't be easy. I mean, even the people that are professionals at jumping over hurdles, they have to practice to do that. They make it look effortless, but the first time they tried it, I guarantee they jumped over it, clipped their little leg, and catapulted onto the ground. And that's okay, you know? Like when they fell on the ground, their instant response wasn't giving up. They got back up and tried it again, right? And I think that kind of like all the self-help, like rhetoric or the improvement videos on YouTube, they always present improvement in the context of like gaining wealth or whatever. However, let's recenter it. We're improving ourselves for our own happiness, okay? And a way we're doing that is transition. If you're watching this, then you've made a conscious choice to engage with transition in some way, whatever that means to you. Or you just like hearing me speak. That's fine too. At the end of the day, right, the reason we transition is to just get closer to what feels right for our own body and mind, you know? And there's no shame in wanting that. There's nothing wrong with you for wanting that. There's nothing wrong with any of us. We're just human beings. The world's so gigantic and large and big. It doesn't matter if we reach certain societal expectations. Sure, there will be trans people that will suit into the boxes created more evenly. However, we gotta do our best not to leave people behind just because other people don't. Receiving acceptance from society just because you match some stereotypes isn't really acceptance, it's more like tolerance. And we don't want to be tolerated. We want to be like seen, loved, and accepted. That's different. We shouldn't settle for less. In every step of transition, there's different choices we make. Different choices you've made. And maybe some choices hurt in retrospect. Maybe moments where you felt like you could have done something but you didn't. That's okay. Today's different. Today you get to do what you want to do. And even if what you want to do is a long action that takes time, maybe weeks, years, it's still an action. And taking that action will get you one step closer. If you just, for example, look at trans Reddit memes on Reddit and go, I wish I could transition. Unfortunately, you don't get that much closer beyond the first time you thought that to yourself. It's about taking that initiative, and when you want to do something, do the steps to do it. Yes, there'll be hurdles, there'll be obstacles, there'll be people telling you not to, there'll be people trying to stop you, there'll be people intervening, government intervention, law changes. I know. I received a lot of resistance when I tried the transition. It took me many tries. But the only reason I'm here today, being me, is because I kept pushing. And I think that's something everyone has within themselves. And human beings are really strong, adaptable. That's the reason we've come so far in world history and done all these crazy things, because we adapt. We're very adaptable. And just because you may have lived a long life as a gender you didn't like doesn't mean you can't adapt to living as another one. And I know, like, a tricky part for trans women in particular is realizing, like, a certain degree of privilege you hold, and that privilege that you kind of have to chuck away a little bit. And that's tricky, right? But all of us experience that one way or another, whether we're trans women, trans men, non-binary pals, etc. There's something we give up, in a way, to be ourselves, and that's fine. A certain degree of privilege, but that core of who you are remains. You don't throw that away. Never throw that away. It's important to be yourself, even if it doesn't match stereotypes, okay? You can still like masculine stuff. You can still like feminine stuff. You can do whatever you want. There's nothing wrong with that. It never was. The only reason it feels that way is because people are haters. People like hating things. They got a problem. It's not on you. Transition is just an action that we take to go from one gender to another gender. It's hard, but countless people have done it, and so can you. It's not an easy thing. You might not get it first try. You probably won't get it first try. But every time you try, you get closer. Every time someone tells you you can't, you gotta not let that be on board too much. Sure, if people suggest things, you can take that on board if you want to. And think, oh, maybe I'm this, maybe I'm that. That's fine. However, you control and you ultimately decide who you're going to live as. And that's all there is to it. Sure, there's all the hurdles. But, once you clear a bunch of them, you can look behind you and see all the hurdles that have already been cleared. And also, you remember every time those hurdles fell over because, your legs clipped on them. You're not going to get them first try, but like a staircase, you eventually get to the top. Maybe sometimes you fall down a little bit, but you still go up the staircase. You make it work, or you adapt in different ways. Maybe like an elevator. That'd probably be easier. Maybe a bit too easy. Transition is just, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with you. If you want to live as a different gender, you can go for it. And you are valid in doing so, whether you want to live as a girl, a boy, something in the middle, something outside, nothing. Doesn't matter. You can do that. If you've ever Googled something along the lines of, can I be trans if blank? Can I be trans if I like insert hobby that's masculine or insert hobby that's feminine? Yeah, you can. Didn't figure it out when you were a kid? That's fine. Didn't figure it out until you're until you're an adult? That's fine. It doesn't matter. We make it matter because of society. But inherently, it doesn't. Right? Now, yes, it's hard not to look behind ourselves and see all the stuff that we missed out on, right? However, eventually, 10 years from now, you're further down the track. And the thing you're going to be looking back on is where you're standing right now. So, rather than lament the past and let it hurt you, and this is a hard thing to do, but we gotta change our vision, so to speak. We gotta look forward. Because eventually, right now becomes the past. Right now becomes the time you wish you could go back in time and change something. And you won't get everything right. That's fine. However, if you do your best to do as much as you want to do, you get a lot closer than you thought you were gonna. And that makes it worth it. If you've done little steps along the way, if you've done not that many steps along the way, that's fine. But you'll make it, okay? Yeah. You can accomplish all the hurdles. You'll be like a hurdle champion in no time. I'm sure of it. But if it means anything, I still fall over on hurdles sometimes. Sure, it happens less now because of all the time and experience, but it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt when it happens, right? So take this from someone that's kind of near the end of all the transitioning parts of transition. Because now that I've done that, I gotta approach other things to overcome, unrelated to it. So someone that's done the transition process, the thing I want you to know is that it does get better. Everyone says that and you never believe them, but it does. And it getting better doesn't mean it becomes a perfect fairy tale either. However, it becomes better than what it was before. Yeah, I understand. The world feels like it's closing in on us. That's fine. It does that in ebbs and flows. At the end of the day, trans people have existed forever, to be honest with you. We have further historical records of trans people existing than we do modern religions. Not to attribute them as the same thing, they're not. But they've definitely been around for a very long time. And sure, maybe being trans comes in many forms, but even now it does. You don't have to be trans the way I'm trans or how someone else is trans. Whatever it means to you, you have full reign to approach that. You can skip certain parts, you can do certain parts, you can do hormones if you want, you can not do hormones, you can maybe do surgery, maybe don't do surgery, maybe even dress non-conforming for the new gender, I don't know. And that is you're gonna do great. And it's okay if the thought of taking these steps terrifies you. I mean, it's hard to jump over a hurdle when our legs are shaking, but unfortunately, it won't stop shaking until we jump over it. That's the tricky part. It's never easy. Even now, I have moments when my legs shake when I have the mere thought of doing something a little different, something new. But think of all the times in your life that maybe you tried something you're a bit unsure about, maybe you're a bit scared of, and you gave it a go, and you came out of it feeling good. And if you feel like transition could do that for you, then by all means, go for it. You don't have to prove anything. Not to me, not to anyone else. All you have to do is look in yourself and see what you want. It's not about what the funny YouTubers say. It's not about what your friends at school say, or at work, or family, anywhere. Okay? It's about what you want. Okay? Videos like these are just a manner in which finding what you want, maybe. That's all it is. Well, whatever you intend to do today, I think you can do it. I hope it goes amazing. And every little step in the way, you are going to get closer to what you want. Just remember, when you end up on the ground from stumbling on a hurdle, just know, we tend to get back up. Trans people are very resilient after all. Thousands of years of human history, and yet we still exist. Isn't that interesting? I think the resilience of trans people is forever inspiring. I think of all the trans people who came before me, and it reminds me that I can do what I want to do. And I hope you can do what you want to do. And I believe in you. And I always like saying this at the end of these because it's important, but if no one's ever said this, I'm proud of you, okay? Maybe you haven't heard someone say that because people can be a bit hateful. But very genuinely, I hope transition is everything you want it to be. Whatever step of the journey you're on, okay? So, I hope this video helped. This is a last minute decision of a video because, truth be told, I'm on a little hurdle myself. And, I was having trouble recording with my usual energy. This is like my 5th attempt at recording today. My bad, but now that I've recorded this, I feel a bit better. And I'm gonna do my best to jump over the hurdle again. And despite that, even though today is what I would consider, for me, a bit of a bad day, it's still better than what it felt when I had a bad day, even just 5 years ago. So, if you're starting your day, I hope it goes amazing. If you're sleeping, have a wonderful sleep. I don't know if you can hear, but my dog behind the door is snoring. And, as always, stay hydrated and know that you are valid. If you want more videos like these, let me know. I kind of miss making these a lot, actually. Feels like it has more heart. I don't know. Well, see you next time.